This started out as a clinic that I did for DCI back in 2013. And it's been updated a few times in that, but I forgot to update the first slide. My name is Bob. 1977, and I was fresh out of college and applied for the job, and they said this is only going to be a 3-year job because we're going to consolidate, and one of the other guys that's been here forever will get the job and we won't need you. And I very smart aleckly, if that's our word, I very smart something said, that's fine, this is a dumpy little town, I have no intention of staying there the rest of my life. And then they said, okay, if we hire you, do you have someone that can help do the drill team? And I said, yeah, she's out in the car. We were dating at that time. You met her earlier, Ruth Ann. So I got the job thinking it was 1 or 2, 3 years at the most. By the time they consolidated in 83, 84, we'd had some success, and I ended up getting the job of the consolidation. And I've never left. I'm getting ready to start my 40th year in town of Brazil, and it's been called Northview High School since 1984. When I started, we had no budget. It was a 1928 wooden facility. I'll never forget the first Band Booster meeting. They talked about how they thought they were going to raise $100, and they were all excited. Of course, you all know now we spend $100 every 5 minutes. We used to use pickup trucks to get to the shows. We had no vehicles. Attendance at rehearsal was optional, and we are still using, I talked to Marian Catholic the other day about this, they're in the same boat, believe it or not. We're still using instruments now at Northview High School, and 2 front sideline instruments, some that were in the building in August 77 when I got to town, and they were old then. So we're not a rich community. When I started teaching, I had one friend from college who was the only staff. Drinks and pizza were the salary. I wrote the drill. We used published music. The first year I was there, we went to 14th. We went from 14th to 3rd in the state. And probably if we hadn't had that success, they'd have fired me because I was a bull in a china shop, and I probably did some yelling and screaming that you shouldn't do. We ended up being state champs by 81, and then the consolidation happened in 84. So now it's Northview High School in Brazil, Indiana. We're called the Northview Marching Knights. There's just over 1,000 in the school. We're getting a little bit smaller every year. We've had as many as 180 in the band in the guard, some years 150, some years 140. We can't seem to figure out the rhyme or reason on that. I am convinced now we've never recovered from the economic crisis of 2007. They say the United States has, but I don't think little towns like Brazil, Indiana have recovered, and I'm not sure they ever will. Marching band's not required. We do, and we're okay with that. We have a non-marcher class in the fall. We now are up to, they do treat us well, and it started out that they provided what they thought they needed. We've had success, and so over the years, they have grown, and they do treat us pretty well, as you can see in the next thing. I cannot complain about that. There's 3 full-time directors, 6 through 12. Almost every class is team taught. We also have to cover a general music class and a theory class once in a while, and we're okay with that. I'm also in charge of the auditorium. The guard director gets 1 period. The middle school guy doesn't get paid a lot, but he does help at the high school. We get a percussion assistant for $1,800, and Ruth Ann gets an assistant in the summer for $400. I think Ruth Ann's total guard salary is just over $3,000 for the entire year. And for most places, for what she does day and night till 9 o'clock every night, that'd be a $20,000 salary. The marching band's a 9-time state champion. The winter guard's been in WGI finals 23 times. The drum line's won 3 state championships. We have a jazz band in the middle school. We have 2 concert bands, a junior high cadet corps. We're not a BOA band. We're not that kind of equipped band. We don't have the resources for that. We couldn't afford that. Our kids could never afford that. Our parents could never afford that. I don't say all that stuff to brag. I say all that stuff to tell you that in a cornfield you can do those things if you stay at it and you work hard, and the community buys in and supports you, and they have for us. And I'm very proud of the fact that it's a cornfield school. Over half the school's free and reduced lunch. A lot of the kids are challenged. We don't have a lot of quote-unquote professionals for band parents. We have a lot of hard-working people. We have a lot of kids from, like a lot of people anymore, we have a lot of kids from one-family homes. There's about 7,000 people in the city of Brazil, maybe 9,000 to 10,000 in the whole area, and as I already jumped ahead, half of the schools on free and reduced lunch is probably even a little higher than that now. We get about 10,000 to 15,000 per year for new equipment. There was a point in time where we got none of that. We got zero, and we had to buy everything. Also now, I am the auditorium director, so I buy some of the stuff for them out of that money. The one good thing, well, not the one good thing, but one great thing that I cannot complain about is that every reasonable repair request is honored. Every school horn is taken care of as much as it needs. They give us some transportation money. We end up having to shell out about $5,000. It's probably a little higher than that now. It's probably about $7,000 a year we shell out in bus bills. Ruth Ann and I have started driving white buses to all the winter guard contests that we can to cut down money. Used to be we took a yellow bus and a van. We had to pay for that. When you start going out of town for WGI 3-day weekends, you've not only got to pay the bus driver for all those hours, you've got to buy their motel room and all those other things, and that gets very expensive. We've saved the band boosters a lot by Ruth Ann and I driving the white bus, which is a sacrifice, but sometimes it's what you have to do. We have semi-cab, the driver and the fuel are all donated. We own a semi-trailer, we own 2 race car trailers, and we own a box truck, and since I've typed this, we now own another semi-trailer that was donated to us just for storage. It sits in the parking lot and is only there for storage. And Great Dane, trailer maker, is in town, and most of that stuff has come from them or Pepsi grants. Our staff, for being a small school in the middle of nowhere, we have a tremendously great staff, and we insist on that, and we figure out how to make it done. Our drill writer is John Vanderkoff. He and I have been friends since '93 when I taught Star of Indiana with him. He first started writing drills. He's the guy writing the Blue Coat show this year, part of that genius team. And that's our drill writer, and he lives an hour away, and like I say, we've been friends since '93. One of our guard people is Jim Moore, who's also one of the Blue Coats people. Our other guard person is Michael Townsend, who does the guard for Carolina Crown. And then, so we have some of the best designers in the country writing our shows, and we're going to keep it that way, and we insist on keeping it that way, and Ruth Ann is very, 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 very much stronger about this than I am, and she will never let it go down. If we have to pay for it out of our own pocket, we're going to keep those designers so that the kids have every possible chance to succeed. We are hugely challenged for tech staff because we're an hour from Indianapolis, we're in the middle of nowhere, and there's a million jobs in Indianapolis for anyone who wants to be a guard or drum tech, and they all say, why would I want to drive an hour to Brazil every night? So we're really challenged there. We have to do everything we can to get someone to come help us, and we're lucky to have anybody on any kind of a regular basis. It's a kind of a rotating door, and it's a challenge, and sometimes it bites us in the rear, and sometimes we make it survive. But over the years, our programs have gotten to the point where they're at the top of the class they enter, and we want to keep it that way. We have alumni, friends, neighbor directors, parents, everyone possible comes help. No one's paid what they want. I wrote paychecks 2 weeks ago for summer band camp staff, and I hope none of them are watching because they know what they are. Most of them are like $7 or $8 an hour. They could all make way more money going to McDonald's. So one tech guy who's been with us since he graduated in '92, he's at the top of the pay scale for tech help, and he's up to $17 an hour. Our marching band fees are $300. I think you'll find most of the metro schools in Indiana start at $850, some are at $1,700. Our winter guard fees are $450, and when I type this, Metro Indiana 1,000, it's way, 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 way past that now. We're trying to hold our own with people that are charging $1,700 to $2,000 in winter guard fees. Our indoor drumline fees are $300, and jazz band fee, I don't know why we even waste time charging one for $25, but we do. The students are charged $7 a semester for book rental, and we get that money. We have been lucky, although it's long gone now. I don't know really where we'd be now if we hadn't done this. We have been lucky on a few things, and they paid off. When the Pepsi did that Pepsi Refresh thing a few years ago, my wife was in charge, and we went nuts. And I don't know if you remember that, but it literally was based on voting every day. And the more people you got to vote for you every day, and you had to stay in the top 10. And I think at one point it took like 13,000 votes a day to stay in the top 10. And so there was a lot of work went on to get the whole community to vote every day. We got, as you can see, we got, what's that come to? We got 80,000 in grants from Pepsi in 2 years. Chase Community, one time, we stepped in it and lucked out. Chase Community did the same kind of thing, and I don't remember the circumstances, but they were going to post the winners on a Friday morning, and they posted all these schools, and we knew that we were not in the top whatever to be there, but our name was listed along with about 12 others who hadn't qualified. And they posted it for the whole world to see. And then about 2 hours later, they said, to 12 of us, you really weren't winners. But they also knew at that point that the public relations nightmare was going to be huge. So all the people they posted got the money that day. And I'm sure the next sound you heard was someone in some office cleaning out his desk, because it didn't go well for them. Other grants you can see listed up there. We try to get everything we can. We have a couple of alumni parents who are just constantly filling out grants. We go play at Walmart, and if we bring in $250 at the door, then Walmart matches it. The Casey's down the street from us does the same thing. Pfizer's closed now. It's at marching grants. We're always doing applications. We might only get a couple $100. We have businesses in town that will do everything to support us. Hardware store this past month on Saturday gave us 10% of all their profits. So we hyped that for the whole week and got everybody in town to go buy something at the hardware store on that Saturday. Every little $500 or $1,000 adds up. We have concessions at varsity football and varsity basketball, and every once in a while we have boys sessional, and I have band burgers on there because we work really hard at having good food, and people know that they come to our concession stand, they're going to eat a good meal. Visiting teams now, our reputation is up to the point where teams that play us every other year at home, they know that if they come to Northview, they're going to get a good meal, and they look forward to that, and that helps us. And we do a lot of other events, Alumni and Kids Clinic, etc. Brochure fundraisers. We do a few. Most every brochure fundraiser we ever do is an opportunity for the kids to raise money to pay their band fees. We really don't make a lot of money out of that. Most brochure fundraisers you find are going to give you 40, maybe 45%, and we always give at least 30% of it to the kids. We're always stealing things. What am I talking about? The Cadets, if you've ever paid attention to the Cadets on Facebook, and all the drum corps now, they have they get people to provide their meals, etc., for them on the tour and things like that, families, etc. We've taken that to a huge level, and every meal all fall that the marching band ever needs, every one of them is donated by somebody, and that saves the band boosters a ton of money. All of our post-show snacks, our parties, our celebration, every event in the fall for the marching band is donated by somebody, and we make a huge deal out of it. We have a permanent dry erase board that says thank you for supporting Marching Nights that was put on there professionally by a sign company, and then all we have to do is write the name of that week's donor, and I give it to 2 kids and say, here, go take 1,000,000 pictures, and we post them all over in Snapchat and everything else in the world. But every one of those little meals saves the band boosters money, and it makes the kids' life easier. We make all of our own flags unless we're doing something really, really unique. This past year we had to buy a couple for one of the designs. We have a sweatshop that goes on every night in our school during marching band and winter guard season. The main hallway gets shut down because the winter guard parents or the guard parents are out there with tables set up and sewing machines. They make all the flags. We make all of our own plumes. Ruth Ann is a genius at using a dowel rod and boa feathers, etc., etc., etc. Our uniforms are all the kind that we can wash ourselves. We alter our own uniforms. We hardly ever pay for a prop. We find alumni to pay for every prop. And then we've started over the years getting some of that money back, and it's become a tradition. Whatever our props are for whatever show they are, we sell them the day after the season's over. And we have an auction, and you'd be surprised no matter what kind of prop you have, someone's willing to buy it. You may have to tear it up. You may have to sell it in little pieces. Flags and things like that. The day when we get home from state finals, we have a celebration party, and then everybody goes in the cafeteria, and we have a bunch of markers, and the kids will buy a flag for 10 or 15 bucks, and then they'll go around and have all their friends sign it. So we get a lot of the money back out of all of our props and other expenses just by selling them afterwards. We do a pancake breakfast on Saturday in August before practice. That's another $1,000. We do servers at restaurants. We do Longaberger basket bingo. All those things help the kids raise money for their own band fees. There's a picture of the guy selling the pancakes. He comes in, he sets up. All you got to do is set up your gym, set up some tables, provide some workers. He comes in, he makes the pancakes, and then he flips them in the air, and you try to catch them, and everyone loves it. And you get a drink, and you get some sausage, etc. And it doesn't take a lot of work, but it's another $1,000 or so. And we do enough to drive anybody crazy. We do 1 million little fundraisers. We haven't found a big one yet to pay for all the bills. This one is huge, and we take this extremely seriously. For marching band and winter guard and drumline, but especially for marching band, we call it an apparel sale or a clothing sale. We sell t-shirts, long sleeve t-shirts, hoodies, zip hoodies, sweats, hats. It's a $4,000 profit easily. We do it for 3 weeks. We do 3 pass outs. We found a local broker who has connections with local sweatshops. So 3 or 4 weeks before this is going to start, the staff, and now it's become a tradition with the staff, and people are already working on this year's t-shirt designs. All the staff submits all these ideas for t-shirt designs. We sit down, we work on it, we pick out 3 or 4, 5 or 6 designs that we like. We come up with a plan. Then this guy, and this is what you got to find, because if you just go with one of the catalogs or some guy calling you on the phone, you're not going to make the money. This guy's local. He's a local broker. He does what anybody can do if they want to do it. Every Monday for 3 weeks, the kids have to turn in their orders by 8:30. Then 2 band parents come in and add all the orders up, and that usually takes them to noon or 12:30. I usually call him by 2 o'clock and say, here's the order, and it's usually 500-600 items at a time. He then has a place in Ohio. If he calls them by 4:30, they will ship all the blank items, whatever color he needs. They'll ship that UPS, and it will be in Terre Haute the next morning at 7:30. He's such a big deal doing it. UPS, when the UPS truck comes in from Indianapolis, anything that says Rick Bagnacci on it, they don't put on the truck for his house. They just take it over and set it by the door. And at 7:30 every morning, he drives in, picks up all the t-shirts, takes them to sweatshops with screen printing machines. I call the orders in Monday at 1 or 2 o'clock. They're in my office by Thursday at 8 a.m. And we pass them out Thursday night or Friday. And you can't get that kind of service out of any normal t-shirt guy. It's incredible, but the profit's there too. We're making $5, $6 an item easily. And this year we're going to take it up a notch. We're not only going to sell our normal inexpensive items, we're going to sell his version of Under Armour and take it up and have optional stuff, because we think parents are willing to buy the really good stuff too. And that's I don't know for you, but that's $4,000 that goes in my school ECA account, and that helps pay for a lot of clarinet lessons and staff members and little things like that. There's an example of one of our generic shirts one year. We did I can't even think of his name. We did a show 4 or 5 years ago. It was called Don't Give Up. And that was one of the designs for that. That was another one of the designs. That one really sold. That, if any of you remember, was stolen. There was an Apple commercial that had something about Apple written in every possible language. We stole that idea. That was another one of the shirts that year. Every year, 100 years, I say 100 all the time, meaning I can't remember how long ago. One year we came up with the idea of the running man. One of our guys came up with the idea of the running man. I think it was in 2004. And so every year we come up with some version of the running man shirt. And since that year was Don't Give Up, then we showed the second guy falling down and getting back up. That's a huge seller. We do it every year no matter what the show is. There's another generic shirt. So I should have put some new designs on there. a lot of bands I see design a show shirt. And I always smile at them because we have 6 or 8 show shirts. And the kids might not have, the kids might not always have money to pay their band fees, but they'll buy one of every t-shirt. And then you got to fight them for the band fees. But the more options, don't even, whatever just happened. Oh no. 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 Ah, you just earned $5. Anyway, we take the t-shirt thing seriously. We do the same. We do it not as big. We do it for Winter Guard and Indoor Drumline too. And my closet is full of t-shirts I don't wear, but we made money. We have a problem at Northview that we can't ever do anything on a low scale. And I don't have they met Mr. Kikta yet? Mr. Kikta? Pete. Yeah. They met Pete. I don't know. I don't know if you will meet him. Pete is on the guard staff here. He's a former band director. He's now one of our assistant principals. He's a creative genius when it comes to our activities. Unfortunately, he's an administrator, but he's in our building. And years ago, our Christmas concert was like everyone else in the world. It was a one-night Christmas show, and you played 3 songs and left, and then one year we added the choir, and they did 3 and we did 3. And then slowly over time, Pete and I turned it into a 3-night Christmas variety show. It's the band, the choir, the dramas, and the dancers. We have a 600-seat auditorium that sells out. This is old data already. We have a 600-seat auditorium that we had 3 shows set up last year, and with an hour and 15 minutes, the original 3 shows were all sold out. And we had to add the 4th show, and it sold out in about 3 hours. We don't know what we're going to do this year because there becomes a limit where the kids can't be expected to do any more the week before finals. It's become the community tradition, though, and the age-old corny phrase that you hear people say, Christmas doesn't start for our family until we go to your show. I hear that all the time now. Seats are now $10. The income is way more than that. We get guest artists paid for by grants and donations. We do everything possible to raise money. People buy a measure. People sponsor a song. People sponsor the show. We have a pre-show dinner ahead of time. And yes, we sell show shirts for the Christmas variety show. And if you've ever been to the Radio City show, it's an exact copy of that. It starts out with an overture, then the guard will be the guard. We own every, if you've been to the Radio City show, you know they have reindeer costumes and Santa costumes and snowman costumes and Raggedy Ann costumes and blah, blah, blah. We own a set of every one of those, and we rotate through. Every 3 or 4 years we bring stuff back. We have traditions. We own a complete set of the toy soldier costumes that are absolutely beautiful, and we do a little version of the Radio City Rockettes toy soldier thing with the rotating line, and we do it every year. We have a smaller stage, so we can't do it near as well as they can, and we don't do any high kicks, but we do it. It's about an hour and 20 minutes long. It's 6 weeks of a tremendous amount of work for me, but the community is out of control over it. The kids love doing it. We tell the kids that it's for them, and the kids rotate. They don't all do every show because they don't all fit. We tear out the front 3 rows of the auditorium. We build a stage, and the juniors and seniors do every show. Sophomores do 2 or 3 shows. Rookies do 1 show. And the choir's getting big enough now, she's doing the same thing with them. The only people that get stuck, of course, and have to do every show is the color guard and the drum line because they have specialty numbers. So they have a pretty brutal dress rehearsals on Monday, last shows on Sunday at 4:30. They have a pretty brutal 7 days. The cool thing about it is, and most of the time the kids buy into it, the cool thing about it is that for the kids, we tell them, and for us too, because Pete and I live in a dream world that we think we're in New York City running the Radio City show when we're just in Brazil, Indiana, trying to keep our head above water. But the cool thing is that it's just what a professional musician does, or it's what a professional dancer does. They work during the day, they go do the show at night, and then they go do another one the next day, and you repeat over and over. And once you get through the first one, then you're talking to the kids all the time about the consistency of doing the next night better, and the fact that the people coming in are paying for a special event. And it becomes a great learning experience and fun for everybody. It's a lot of fun for everybody. A lot of the kids then have taken it to the next level. Every night when the show's over, about 10 of them run out to all the sidewalks exiting the building and lay their horn case down and start playing for donations. And then they take all that money and they go eat somewhere. I don't know when they get home, but they just pretend they're in New York City, and I think that's cool. So that's one example, and that's $10,000. That's not even close to what it is now. We use all that money. The Christmas Spectacular pays for all the music for the entire music department all year with all the profit. So the example is we've taken a normal Christmas concert, we've turned it into something huge that is wonderful, that the community loves, and we're making money, and we're making all kinds of money, and we're not asking mom and dad to buy, as I always say, an acrylic Christmas ornament or some trinket that you really don't want. There's some pictures of the pit coming out. There's Santa with the choir behind him. This is an old, there's the Radio City Santas on stage. The drummers do a specialty number every year. There's a picture of the ending. We decorate, as you can see, we decorate the auditorium, and every year we add more decorations to the auditorium. We do the lobby, we do the foyer, we do the hallway. It's crazy. And there was our logo from one year that went on all the apparel we sold. Not only does every kid buy 1 or 2 items, but then we have a souvenir stand out in the lobby, and people buy stuff on the